Suicide is a tough topic, but the Washington County Reach for Hope Suicide Prevention Coalition wants you to know that there is always hope. We are a caring community reaching out to provide compassion and hope for a community free of suicide. In the next half hour, we'll talk with community partners to identify risk factors, raise awareness, and discuss prevention strategies. Hello, and thanks for joining us again on another edition of Reach for Hope. I'm Melissa Anderson. You know, life's daily tasks can become a struggle and sometimes lead to emotional distress. If you don't take time to deal with those struggles, though, it can lead to depression. With me today is a woman who knows all too well about this and has figured out a way to recognize it and manage that stress. I'd like to welcome Tiffany Wilson. Thanks for joining us on the show today, Tiffany.
Thanks so much, Melissa.
Now, you are the Board of Trustees chair here at Utah Tech University.
That's right.
Tell us about that and how you became involved with the university.
Well, I'm a long-term, lifelong native. Did live on the East Coast for a while as an adult, but born and raised here. So have all that red sand in my shoes from, being a child. And grew up with my family attending here. And of course, I attended what was previously Dixie College and loved it, had such a good experience. So, coming back to the community and got a call from a friend who's a vice president here, Brad Last, and said, hey, want to have you talk to you about a possible opportunity. And when he said it was for Board of Trustees for the university, I was like, come on, are you kidding me? And it was a real surprise. And I'm so grateful to him because it came at a time I needed it so much for my own mental health and well-being. And so I ended up talking with, the president and some of the other people here and was recommended. It's a process you go to, they send your name. Once you've agreed you'd be willing to do it sends it to the governor for approval. And then it's really interesting. I kept thinking we were done, and then they says, no, the governor needs to approve. Oh, okay, let's do that. So the governor calls, and they said, great, we're so grateful. Please, governor's thrilled with your application. We're now going to send it to the legislature for approval. What? We're not done. So eventually I started serving, and again, it came at a critical time for me that I'd hit a real low. After, I didn't deal with depression and assorted mental health conditions when I was younger, when I was growing up, and in my early adult years, I really felt a shift in my body and my coping. And it was so disorienting thinking, who am I? What is happening? And I really struggled. So, I dealt with depression, anxiety, and I'd had a very traumatic car accident that left me with a lot of PTSD symptoms that I still deal with a lot today. And you pile all that together and it became overwhelming. So in 2016, I think, 17, when I got this call and I attended my first board meeting, I came out of that board meeting and I said, oh my gosh, I am still here. That was the thought in my mind as I drove home. I'm still here. Me, my soul, who I am is still here, and I have something to contribute. So it's been an amazing opportunity full of a lot of difficulty, clearly a lot of, interestingly, just when I thought, hey, we're getting this all back in the groove, we dealt with the name change, which was literally one of the most difficult things I've ever been through, and that's a story for another day. But it really took a toll, and coming out of it at this point and seeing the university thriving, so thriving, it's one of the things I think it's going to be the thing besides my family, that I'll be the most proud to have been associated with this university and the growth, the progress, and the opportunities for students.
And it basically teaches us that we can do hard things once we learn that we can survive them.
Yes.
Now, I understand you've lost a friend to suicide. Can you tell us about that and how that impacted your life and what you did to overcome that?
Yes, I had a dear friend, Pam. I adored her, and she, if you look at her, she just looked like the most vibrant person. She was always so full of joy. You would never imagine she was dealing with depression, and I did know that. But I kind of put some pictures together that show her now, and then really kind of these other pictures that also show what represented her. We live sort of with a mask sometimes, and we don't let people know the struggles we're having. I didn't know how deep her struggles were. I have a lot of regret. She had called me a couple of days before she took her life. And I had not called her back. And it's something I live with to this day, is that regret of not having called her back. And I know she needed help. But what I did is she had gone skydiving for her 50th birthday. And I said, never in 10 million years will I do that. But about 2 weeks after she passed, I said, you know what, let's do this. So I'm going to share this really interesting experience with you. So, look at the size of that plane. It's like, it could fit in your pocket. And I was so enthusiastic as we started. But I mean, the door rattles, it barely like, is this door closed? I was so happy. And then about now, things shift. Oh, yeah, they start to shift. I start to look at and say, what was I thinking? There's the face. That's the face. And I am starting to do deep breathing. And I think, no way. And I told him before, I said, Rick, I have to get out of this plane. I give you permission to push me. And I didn't think I would need it. But by this point, I was saying, I'm so scared. I can't do it. I don't think I can do it. No, I can't. There you go. I can't do it. No, I'm not ready, Rick. I'm not ready. And I knew at this point he will throw me out with him on my back. So I'll put myself in position to take this jump, to take this leap of faith that this parachute is going to open. Oh, I feel all the feels right now just watching this. Oh, my goodness. So now here you're going to see where the skin needs to be tightened up just a bit.
Wow.
When you see that, you realize, man, that my skin is not that tight, is it? But you can see I'm in shock. I don't even know what to do, and the goggles are raising up to where I can't even see. But this is the moment of great relief. And there's so much I learned from this experience. There you go. Oh, my gosh.
I can't imagine.
And this is really tightened up. But this landing, I broke my tailbone. So that was the moment I said, I shall never do this again. But I did it, and I'm so grateful that I did it, because I did it in honor of my friend Pam. And if you saw in the video, in fact, I think we have a slide of it that shows the bracelet I was wearing. And at her funeral, they had handed out these bracelets that said, out of the darkness. It's that orange bracelet on my wrist. And I intentionally took that bracelet and went on this dang skydive and wanted to do it just in her honor, because she was so fearless and so brave. And I've tried to use that mentality to start speaking about my own experiences, to encourage others to speak about theirs. So what's really come up for me in these last 6 years is there's no purpose in all the pain and suffering that we go through when we deal with mental health conditions. And there's a wide variety of those, and they ebb and flow, but there's no purpose in them other than suffering, unless we make something good come from them. And I knew at that point I needed to start being open about my experiences, about my journey, to show others that you have permission to be seen as the whole person that you are, and not just the mask, not just the pretty things, but the whole person that you are.
Well, I think all of us have days where we're not doing so well, and possibly weeks even. So tell us about what you've done to overcome your depression in the past.
So I have done pretty much everything, and there's been times I've just thought, what's left? But I ended up pretty early on starting therapy, and this was back in, the mid 90s, when no one talked about mental health. No one. It felt like it had to be this dirty secret, but I did. I started therapy, and I eventually, shortly after, I started medications. And I will be honest, I've run the gamut of medications. I've tried everything and then circled back through, and it gets very frustrating. And medication is really necessary for many people, and it's been necessary for me at times in life. And there's been times that I've not needed the same support. But it's so important that we recognize when our resources are tapped and we need that support. And first, it starts by, I'd say, number one, tell someone you're struggling. You've got to be willing to trust the people around you, even if you think that they don't want to hear it. You've got to trust them. And then you've got to be willing to ask for professional support in the form of medication and therapy. Medication can really relieve you of a lot of that at critical times when you need it.
Why do you feel it's difficult then for people, and even yourself, to go get that help or support when they're experiencing depression?
People people want, again, to put that mask on. And I think it's really hard it's been hard up to this point to see visible people out there speaking about mental health who are also successful at what they do. And they are out there. And if we really look at statistics, a ginormous percentage, I'm not going to even try and quote the right one from memory, but people have dealt with mental health condition at some point. But until we start showing it, you're never going to know that you're not alone. And so that's become my personal mission, is to help break the stigma by showing that I can be the chairman of the board of trustees and I can deal with mental health conditions, a variety of them. I can be, it's like an and both. It's and both. I am this and this. I am both. I don't have to think of myself as one or the other. I don't have to think I'm either successful or I'm either like a hopeless case. I'm both. Mm-hmm. And we're all some measure of both. And I think it's important we've got to talk about it to give each other permission.
And that's what we're talking about today, is reaching out for help, understanding that we all need somebody to talk to, and that you shouldn't be ashamed that we're not alone. Yeah. Is it ever possible then to view mental health challenges as a positive thing?
Absolutely. It took me a long time to get to this point, I'll be honest. Because for a long time it felt like the extremes. It's either this or it's this. I'm either good or I'm just a mess. Or to feel like you're a failure because you've had these challenges, and there's so much shame. It's misplaced shame, really. It's misplaced shame. We shame ourselves unnecessarily for the mental health challenges. But the reality is there have been so many wonderful things that have become a part of who I am as a result of those experiences. And I've come to a point where I can identify those. And I think we've got a slide of some of those things that I've deemed my mental health superpowers. And it's kind of a funny phrase, but it's the way I like to think of it, because we all want some superpowers, don't we? I can't fly, I can't do all those things, but yeah. I've gotten some really great gifts as a result of those experiences. So things like I'm more empathetic. I'm so much more empathetic of other people because I'm watching for them, for their own, feelings and emotions. I'm more creative. I'm more self-aware. I think I'm more emotionally observant. I'm more resilient. Sometimes I'm not resilient. I think a lot of people deal with mental health challenges. It's funny to put humble on the list, but you do become pretty humble because you're very, you're subject to all of the other things. You know you're infallible, I guess. And we are more willing to accept others as a result of that. And there's so many things I think that have just become gifts that I'm so grateful for. I don't think without these challenges they might have been in there, but I think they've been refined as a result of those things.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that slide because it talked about being adaptable and resilient. Yeah. And I think we've talked a lot about that in the past. I mean, not everything goes your way in life, and you can't throw a tantrum over it. You just have to put your big girl panties on and go down the road and say, okay, tomorrow's another day. I'll get through this. And
that's it.
Or you figure out a way to get around it. And
yes, very adaptable. You have to become so.
Yeah, and I guess that's the way life kind of is. It always throws something at you. But I'll tell you what, right now I took that jumping out of the plane off my bucket list a long time ago. Anyway, so you're very brave for that.
I commend you for that choice. I won't do it again.
What personal advice then do you have to others who may struggle at times with depression or just even stress?
Yes. Again, I'll be really clear, and I want to make sure that one of the things I want people to realize is we don't have to think about that we're going to get healthier emotionally and then it's smooth sailing. No, you might feel healthier emotionally, more stable and more in your zone, and then the things might just fall apart and you might be right back in that. I referenced the fetal position in my recliner. That's sort of my retreat place. And it just feels like you're kind of getting knocked down a lot. But what I really want to remind people is that this is a process. And if we're dealing with these things, they show up, they rear their ugly head, they tap, tap, tap on our shoulder, and we might absorb it for a while, but then we can say, And I almost have this mental thing that I do. It's a feeling of pushing something out of my body, like shoving it out. It's like, no. Now, I don't always do that well, total admission. But a couple of things I think about is one of my tips is, the thing I think about is there's always a better day.
Yeah.
It's the thing I say to myself all the time. There is always a better day. If today is terrible, tomorrow might not be great, but guess what? The next day might, or the following, or maybe even this afternoon. I find that if you just say, just wait for it. Wait for it. It's coming. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. There is always a better day ahead. You've just got to. And what I often tell people is, if today's really awful, go to bed early and try again tomorrow. Just go ahead and close this one out, because when I'm back the next day, I find relief. For me, I know what my medicine is. My medicine is connection. That's been very clear to me for some time, that when I connect with a human, when I get myself out of that recliner and I spend time with people, I mean, it's remarkable, the change in my body. It's a physical change that happens for me in my body. I feel like it's like I said, coming out of that first board meeting after being in a difficult time and going, man, I'm still here. My good self, my whole self is still here. I'm still here. I could be and both. It's all there. So I say, just wait. There's always a better day. And there's another quote by young Pablo, brilliant thinker, someone I love to follow, and I'm going to have to read it off of Sean's slide there. But I love this. This is out of his book, Lighter, that just was released. It says, they asked her, how did you get through tough moments? She answered, do not trust the way you see yourself when your mind is turbulent, and remember that even pain is temporary. Honor your boundaries, treat yourself gently, let go of perfection, and feel your emotions without letting them control you. You have enough experience to face the storm and evolve from it.
Wow, what a great
That's so good.
thing.
And that's it. The storm, it goes along. There's always a better day.
Yeah.
You have this in you to continue. So those are some kind of guiding thoughts that I use to carry me through, and to always remind myself. One last thing I want to share about that is something's come really clear to me recently is I spent the last 4 days with a group of people I've just started a master's program, finally, after all these years of wanting to.
Congratulations.
A master's in organizational leadership through Concordia University, Irvine. And we met for this kickoff, and we were sharing deep things with each other. And what I took from that was, we want to say to each other, I don't want to burden you. I don't want to give this to you. It's too much. I don't want you to be bothered by my problems. But what I felt in response to others sharing their pains with me and this deep work we were doing was, I said, you know what? My internal resources are barely tapped by this. Like, they're almost not even tapped. All it does for me is it makes me feel love. And when people share, I had an experience just today with someone I love so much dearly that shared a pain, a burden that she was feeling. And I told her, I am so grateful you reached out to me, because I feel that you love me, you trust me enough to tell me. And that makes me love her so much, even more than I already did. There's connection that is so magic that's created when you share something with someone. And I've lived my last 10 years by this principle, that I want to give people something, because then they know I care enough about them that I trusted them with this part of me, this ugly, hard part of me. And the connections that happen are so incredible. It feels like medicine. That's why I call connection my medicine. And I know some people have different strategies. Some people need to retreat. For me, the retreating is more dangerous, puts me in a more negative space. But I would just encourage people to remember, you're not taking too much from someone. You're not asking too much from their resources. They have it freely to give when it's not theirs to bear. So allow those people to connect with you, because they will love you for it. that's the most important message I think I can share.
Yeah, and you have actually shared with us today, and you're going to be sharing in the future. Tell us about your Breaking the Stigma and this campaign that you've kind of started here on campus, and what you hope to achieve from this and by this. You've already had one.
Yes, so excited about this. This has been, I'll be honest, it's been scary. It's been something that brought some emotion up to be brave enough to do it. But I'm in the Trailblazer Leadership Program on campus. It's typically for faculty and staff, but I asked if I could participate in it this year, and we are required to do a project during the year, something that enhances or improves campus in some way. And I knew instantly, I'm not in a typical department. I don't do the typical things here, but I care so deeply about mental health, and I feel like I'm at this place in my life, and I'm in a position that is such a gift to have access to support, to resources, and to be able to say, I want to start a mental health project on campus, and how lucky am I that I can do that? So I have started this Breaking the Stigma seminar series, and the goal with this is to bring in, successful leaders in all sorts of fields. This could be business, in, all sorts of anything. It could be creators, it could be entertainment, it could be sports, it could be anything. But we want successful people in their field to come that also deal with mental health challenges, to be able to say, this is my story. I am this that you think I am, and I'm this. I'm both. And I'm okay with that. These are people who have done this for the long haul. And again, these are people that know we don't wait for ourselves to just be magically healed, but we are in the work of healing ourselves all the time. And they are still making great impacts in the world. We most recently had Christy Pike, who is the director of the Washington County Children's Justice Center, and remarkable human, just remarkable. And she came and spoke about her mental health journey. We will be sharing that video from that soon. And she shared some really powerful stories of her own experiences that got really difficult. And, to see her thriving and knowing it's still there. Again, it's not that it's gone. It's still there somewhere. It's still there, and it can pop up. But she's doing amazing things in the world. And that's what I want to inspire students, faculty, staff, community. This is not just for students. This is for everyone. And we invite everyone to come and to listen to these people share their stories. And we talk about, what are the mental health challenges you've dealt with first? What are the coping strategies that have been really helpful for you? What are the messages you want to share? And what's next for you? We talk about a couple of other things as well, but we also are going to be using a student. Our student was unfortunately sick, the first one, and I had to sub for her, I guess you'd say, pop in for her. But we will also be starting with a student who will tell a little bit of their mental health story, because I believe as students share this with their peers, I know what happens. There's no ostracizing. There is only love, acceptance, and support. So as these students will be brave and step up and say, I'm going to share my story, and I know they're going to be nervous, but they're going to share that, and I know there's going to be so much support for them as a result, and they're going to be empowered by this. So then that student will be the person interviewing the guest speaker. And so we're going to see some of this. Here we are as a student dealing with this, and here we are as a professional who's done the long haul, and being able to share those ideas together and have these conversations. So it's something I'm still looking for speakers. I'm looking for people like I described, who are willing to share their mental health stories, who are willing to help break the stigma by showing I'm a person who deals with this, and I'm also successful in what I do. And I think as we do that, we're going to create a community of support, love, acceptance, and allow others to tell their story.
And you're going to be the guest on the next one. Tell us about that, what the dates are when they're coming up.
So March 9th is our next one, which is, goodness, a week from tomorrow. They're all on Thursdays at 1:30. I should have put that, but Thursdays at 1:30, and it's in the Gardner living room. So the main area, lobby area of the Gardner Center, the student center. And it's just a comfortable gathering spot with comfy chairs, makes it safe for people to come and feel that they're safe there. But we're going to talk about my mental health journey, which I'll share more details about that. And and also hear from Zoe Sewell, who's our currently Miss Utah Tech. And she's going to share her story as well. And she'll be the one to interview me.
Great. Real quickly then, how would someone get a hold of you if they want to help and be a part of the show?
I've included my email on the slide, but I'll tell you again, it's Tiff, T-I-F-F, at designermarketplace.net. That's my online retail business.
That's great. Well, I'd just like to say thank you so much for sharing, caring, and all of the above, because without hope, we don't know where to turn. So thank you so much for sharing your story, and thank you for watching, and we hope you have a better day. Take care. The Reach for Hope Coalition wants you to know that we care about you and we are here to help. If you or someone you know is thinking about suicide, reach out. You're not alone. To access resources for yourself or others, visit our webpage at reachforhopeutah.org. That's reach4hopeutah.org. If you are experiencing a crisis, please call or text the Suicide Crisis Lifeline at 988, because you matter and there is always hope.
This has been a production from a podcast studio.